Do you ever feel like the people you watch on YouTube and TV are your friends? I definitely get that feeling. And recently I had the opportunity to go to VidCon, where I met a whole lot of them. And it was great. Everyone was very nice. But there was a part of me that was surprised and taken aback. Now, of course, no one there had ever met me before, but I realized I was having an emotional reaction as if all my friends had forgotten about me. Here were all these people who had been coming into my living room for years, talking to me and seeming as though they're not acting. And finally, I have the opportunity to meet them, and it's as if they've all entered a fugue state and can't remember me or all the time we've shared. I catch someone out of the corner of my eye who I recognize, and I get excited, but to them, I'm just a face in the crowd. I've met famous people on occasion before, but probably never so many in such a short time. And it made me think about how little of human history it is that we've had mass media. Our brain systems for understanding and empathizing with others evolved entirely with face-to-face interaction. And now we have these great communication tools that often limit the communication to just one direction. Now, there are whole journals and fields of research devoted to mass media's effects on society and culture and ourselves as individuals, but there are a few studies that I think address this experience that I had. These studies test the social surrogacy hypothesis, which is basically that media personalities can take the place of face-to-face friendships when we need them to, providing an experience of belonging that mimics what we get from our real friends. One study found that watching your favorite show was listed second on a list of over 30 things that people could do when they're feeling lonely, behind only listening to their favorite music. And notably, these favorite shows are ranked well above watching whatever's on. You can't turn to just anyone when you're lonely, you need to turn to your friends. And when asked how likely they were to feel lonely when doing all these activities, watching their favorite show came dead last. But that's all just self-report. There's no manipulations and we can't infer causation. So those same researchers wanted to see if they could make people feel lonely, to see if that would change the way people thought about their favorite shows. They had people write about a time they fought with a close friend, while another group of people spent that time listing all the items in their home they could remember. After that, they wrote about watching TV, but some of them wrote about their favorite show, while others wrote about any old program. After priming people to get a little lonely by thinking about fighting with friends, the people who wrote about their favorite show wrote a bit longer than those who wrote about any old show, or those who weren't primed to be lonely. And keep in mind, these are volunteers for a psychology study. They could stop writing and leave whenever they wanted, but being primed to be lonely made people want to spend more time sitting there writing about their favorite characters. These researchers followed up with a study of the same design, but then they asked people afterward how they felt. And people who were primed to feel lonely but got to write about their favorite characters reported less negative feelings, less feeling of rejection in particular, and higher self-esteem. They also did some replication studies that seem to show it isn't just increasing your mood overall. Thinking about your surrogate friends in your favorite shows specifically seems to target feelings of inclusion, rejection, and loneliness. So this research was published in 2009, and the media landscape has changed dramatically even since then. They were just studying television shows and characters. Imagine the difference it could make if they included media like YouTube or podcasts, in which people are unscripted and just chatting and talking directly to you, the viewer. And the research that does exist seems to be focused on just this one side of the equation, what it's like to see these people come into your home every day. But what's it like on the other side? What's it like to be the recipient of all these surrogate friendships? There's astoundingly little research published on the psychological consequences of becoming famous. Do a search on Google Scholar or Web of Science for fame psychology, and you mostly get a memory trick called the false fame effect, which is pretty cool. We should talk about it sometime. Searching for celebrity finds research on whether celebrity endorsements encourage sales, but almost nothing on studying people who have become famous. But at the very least, anecdotes from famous people seem to suggest that being the recipient of all these positive feelings from so many distant faces doesn't create the kind of reciprocal positive feeling that you might expect. You're more likely to hear reports that fame creates a bubble, a loneliness, a non-thing. After she got famous, Jennifer Lawrence remarked that no one ever asks me out. I'm lonely every Saturday night. Hank Green, once he found himself on billboards and in commercials, said,
I don't know how I feel. A big piece of me understands that this is a big deal, and it searches the rest of the me for the thing that I'm feeling about it, and it is unable to find a feeling.
And finally, David Foster Wallace, after starting to get a taste of fame, wrote in a fictional dialogue, "You feel these men with their photographs in magazines care deeply about having their photographs in magazines, derive immense meaning. You've been snared by the delusion that envy has a reciprocal. You assume that there is a flip side to your painful envy of Michael Chang, namely Michael Chang's enjoyable feeling of being envied by Lamont Chu. No such animal. To be envied, admired, is not a feeling, nor is fame a feeling. There are feelings associated with fame, but few of them are any more enjoyable than feelings associated with envy of fame. I wouldn't deny that there are positive and negative consequences to fame, but if you're living an unfamous, private, quiet life, you might just be getting the better end of the deal. Thanks for watching. See you next time.